vibrant, very, very analytical team on board. I have cut across the private sector, cut across the academia, and of course the political process as well. I want to start by introducing to the studio. I welcome into the studio rather a very senior friend and a very, very vibrant politician in Nigeria, not just Cross River State, Chief Okoye Obonobla, who is a public analyst. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you. Appreciate.
All right, so, and then of course I have another person that has been very supportive of the activities of CRBC TV, Cross River State in all ramifications. It's always a phone call away, Professor Michael Okom. Professor Okom is a professor of law, Faculty of Law, University of Calabar, and is also the Director, Academia for Good Governance in Nigeria. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
And then that takes me to Dr. McFarland Eja, who is a country director of International Training Research and Advocacy Project in Nigeria. And of course, he's a member of Chatham House, London, a development consultant, and also a public affairs analyst. You're welcome to the program.
Good morning and welcome, Cross Riverians.
All right. So our role today is very simple. So in the 5 years of unbroken democracy, has Nigeria done well? How have we fared as a nation? And of course, we also need to streamline to Cross River State based on different indices that have played out. It's now very pertinent to ask the question, where is Cross River in the politics of Nigeria? But I want to start with you. You launched a book recently called Nigeria, My Country, as a public analyst. Talk to us about June 12th. We are commemorating this day to reflect on the efforts of our founding fathers. And then we are talking about making Nigeria more secure, more peaceful, and of course, ensuring that Nigeria remains an indivisible entity. So in doing this, what would you say the governance process in Nigeria has achieved so far?
In history, 12 June means 12th June 1993. What happened on that day?
Yeah.
Yes. I want to do an analysis of what happened on that day, but we have to go back to 1966. That was when the military made the first incursion into political governance on precisely 15th of January 1966. The military toppled the civilian government of Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. The constitution was suspended. The parliament, which is now the National Assembly, the parliament then was made up of the Senate and the House of Representatives, was suspended. And military governors were appointed for the group of provinces. So that was how Nigeria was governed from 1966 to 1st October 1979. And then the military returned back to the barracks, after 13 years. And then, unfortunately, on the 31st of December 1983, the military again made an incursion into political governance when the civilian government of President Shehu Shagari was toppled by Major General Muhammadu Buhari. And then the military returned back to governance. And on the 26th of August 1985, the military regime of General Muhammadu Buhari was toppled by General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. And in the 1990 or 1989, Babangida told Nigerians that he wants to transit to return power to civilians. And then the political transition program was set up. And that political transition program manifested in the election of 12th June 1993. I was alive. I was already a young lawyer in Calabar, and one of the people who took part in the pro-democracy advocacy for the military to return back to the barracks. Okay. So we were very, very expectant because the elections were very smooth. I voted in Ugep and I returned to Calabar, and we were aware, or we knew that Chief Moshood Abiola of the Social Democratic Party was coasting home to victory. Yeah. Yes, so that is it. So, but suddenly after a few days, the military promulgated a decree annulling that election. So the quest for democracy, the struggle for democracy in Nigeria, which was at that time everybody in the world because there was some changes taking place. The Soviet Union has collapsed. All the communist countries in the Eastern Europe, they were collapsing. So there was a wind of change. So people were no longer interested in military regime or one-party dictatorships. So we were transiting around the world. So that wind of change ought to have manifested in Nigeria, but unfortunately, it was the election was cancelled and the country was plunged into crisis, which took us almost from 1993 to 16 years for the military to return back to the barracks and for us to have democracy we are enjoying. I think I have seen fundamental changes. I was, as a young lawyer growing up in Calabar, who was very conversant with national events. I think we have made a lot of progress. At least for us to come to radio, talk about government. If the governor is not doing well or the president, we will write articles, we will criticize him. You know, that is an achievement. But we are yet to get there because 25 years is so small, okay, in the life of a nation. Let's go back to America. We saw what happened when Trump was defeated, and he didn't want to go back. And America has practiced democracy for over 300 years. So if you take that experience into account and then marry that with the Nigerian experience, we will say that our democracy is nascent, is still growing, and is yet to mature. But we'll get there.
Right. Yeah. So you've described our democracy as nascent. I don't know whether Prof agrees with that. So let's hear from you. What are your thoughts about June 12th, Professor Michael Okon?
Well, June 12th, according to Professor Esenudom, was more, like an abomination.
Okay.
And he said, that whenever there's an abomination in the community, certain sacrifices have to be done by way of, expiation or ablution, of the abomination. Now, in Nigeria, that has not been done. Well, thankfully, I have great respect for my big brother here, and he has said that we are not doing well. And but I dare not disagree with him because, as far as I'm concerned,
so we need your personal thoughts on this.
He's a pundit, but maybe I'm applying different indicia. And with the kind of indicia that I'm applying, I think that we can do better. We could have done better. I think that if we had a little bit more political will, what we are blessed with in Nigeria is that we are people that have what Tatalo Adamu calls oracular gravitas. People do a lot of pontification. But for me, the political will is the bridge between pontification and actualization. And the political will is also the bridge between the lofty ideals that we have in our constitution. Because if you ask me, our constitution is about what is one of the best in the world. It's if not the best in the world. But we need the political will to be able to translate what is in print into the ground, what is on the drawing table. We need people that have political will. But I don't think that we've been able to come up with the political will. So June 12th for me remains a watershed, remains a big statement of promise, of expectation. But I think that we are very far from realizing that expectation because of the political will that we need to be able to manifest. Because for me, I'm concerned about. That's why I have this academic for governance. Yeah. I'm concerned about what puts food on the table. Sure. I'm concerned about doing what Winston Churchill says, that a leader is a person who takes people from where they are to where they're supposed to be. I'm interested in Isaiah chapter 10 verse 7, that I said, I'm a healer. I'm not a healer. I don't have bread, so I can't be a ruler. So I'm concerned about putting bread on the table. I'm concerned about what enables me to have energy. I'm concerned about children going to school. I'm concerned about where you go when you have when you are sick. Those are the major concerns, and I think that our democracy, in order to be efficacious, has to address these basic issues. Otherwise, we'll just still be hanging on the realm of expectation without anything happening on the ground.
A greater percentage of your speech said that we need the political will. are you categorically saying that the Nigeria's situation needs a political solution? And then the political will, where is it going to be gotten from? Is it from our leaders? How are they going to be the triggered to do the needful? Because you kept saying the political will, the political will. What is the challenge that you have seen so far?
Well, again, Tatala Adamu, I'm sorry, he's my favorite journalist, calls it the concatenation. That's the presidium, the presiding presidium.
Okay.
I think that if they come out of that conclave, yeah, and then apply a modicum, a scintilla of empathy, whereby they are concerned.
Who are the they? The Nigerian
Well, the
leaders?
presidium, yes, the
Let's break
deities.
this English so that people
Well, but you know, in Nigeria, our problem is not about knowing what to do. I think we know what to do, but
we are not doing
we
it.
just need the yes. Are you saying that we haven't heard that Alex Oti used 10 billion to provide 24/7 electricity in Abia City, in Aba? And I've done some calculation the other day, and I said it in church. And we have about, assuming we want to power 111 cities in Nigeria. So take 3 cities in each state times 336. We have 111. I've done the math.
Sure.
Now, 10 billion times 111 is 1.1 trillion. Recall that one public officer has, returned ostensibly returned
And it
back
worked.
2.5 trillion. Right?
Yeah.
Then another public officer was in the news, so I can mention Emefiele was reported to have refunded 4 trillion. But you need 1.1 trillion to provide 24/7 electricity.
And one individual was in possession of 4 trillion.
Of 4 trillion, and another was a part of 2.5 trillion.
Okay.
Yeah, remember that the EFCC guy, what's that his name? He said he discovered 2.8 trillion fraud in just one sector, and then he tried to enumerate. I'm sure you saw it. I'm very sure you must have seen it.
Yeah.
Enumerate what could have been done with the 2.8 trillion. He says one, we could have built 200 universities.
Okay.
2, 36 world-class hospitals in each state. Yes, that is one in each state.
Yeah.
And 6,000 kilometers of road, and then train 6,000 children from primary to university level with just 2.8 trillion, which got into somebody's pocket. That's different than the 2.5 trillion which the other public officer refunded, and the 4 trillion which Emefiele refunded. So if all these trillions amounting now to over 10 were deployed on the ground, there would have been a specialist hospital that is world class in Cross River here, and in 36 states, the other 35 states, there would have been 6,000 or about 20,000 kilometers of road in Nigeria. There would have been about 200. I said that even if you don't want to build new institutions, you can upgrade the ones that are existing, right? Expand them.
All right, thank you very much. We'll come back to you. Okay, so let's hear from Dr. McFarland. Dr. McFarland, let's get your thoughts on June 12th. And I want to also know specifically from you, from the private sector, your own take on Nigeria as a nation after 25 years of, a democratic process.
Well, June 12 clearly symbolizes the resilience of Nigerians and hunger for democracy and good governance. I remember June 12. I was actively involved in the process, and we're excited that it came up. Now, marking June 12 as Democracy Day brings so far that in all the attempts to have elections, the processes itself, the one that saw June 12, saw freedom of expression, saw people voting according to their conscience, saw there was intimidation. In fact, that electoral process was actually the best we've had so far. So we're still seeing it as a reference, even though the election itself was annulled by the military. So for me, symbolizing June 12 as a hub of democracy in Nigeria, it's apt and it is nice. Now, 25 years that we are in here, one of the things we take is that Nigerians hunger for democratic governance. Now that we've stayed for 25 years without, the incursions that we've been experiencing by the military before, it clearly shows that the people are interested in a democratic governance. In terms of dividends, are we really getting the dividends? When government is not able to provide the basic needs for people, which is security, safety, and ensuring that the average Nigerian goes to bed without being hungry, That's where you are talking about governance coming to play. But you know that the poverty index, which we just did, I think about a year or a year and a half ago, showed that 67% of Nigerians were multidimensionally poor. And if you want to do that analysis today, it has also increased, if not in geometric progression. That doesn't mean that we don't have what it takes. And let me borrow from Professor Com. The analysis he has just looked at, the number, the figure, money in the hands of people. Sure. We have people who are taking position of authority and leadership that I begin to wonder their kleptomaniac attitude, whether even the devil steals the way they steal. Because it's primitive acquisition of wealth. You carry the money and keep, and you wake up in the morning, open the door and look at it, and you just feel satisfied. So this is funds you should have put into different places.
Okay.
I remember I keep telling, when I told my son I paid 13 naira school fees, 13 naira boarding fees. My father kept 5 naira in the secondary school, Hopodo, in the school bank. I couldn't finish it in 5 years. Wow. I went to Federal School of Arts and Science Ogoja. I cannot recall whether I paid actually school fees. Because the school there was like a mini university. You were comfortable, and when school closes, you're given your transport, brings you back home, and you go back. So we have transport that way. I'm happy that Chief Obla is here. Both of us were in that school together. So it was a school where you understood. You were a Nigerian. You were satisfied. We had South Africans coming into Nigeria then to do that. That's when we had Nigeria as a country. That's when we had Nigeria people looking at issues. And we are saying that today, it's not that we do not have it. All the amount of the leaders we have are people who make me begin to think whether we are practicing democracy or kakistocracy. These are the things which begins to make me to think. When you have somebody who sits back and begins to amass wealth at the expense of the people, and you begin to see people who are moving around. I'm happy that even the northern part of Nigeria, where we say that the level of poverty is endemic, the people are becoming socially enlightened. We had Atiku as vice president. I still recall when they were talking about early child marriage. He clearly said that none of his daughters was going to get married until they finish university. And so, if you have people who are in a place that you're supposed to be speaking for the people, and you're speaking for your own self, it beats my imagination. Taking it back to recently to this even National Assembly, I get worried. When you are getting 150,000 naira, $1 SUV for yourself, and you're refusing to ensure that we have a law that makes it easy for the Nigerian child who is in secondary school to write WAEC or NECO free, then we should begin to look at it and see where we prioritize our own activities, our conscience. So we are people who are there and we're looking at it. Democracy in Nigeria can thrive. The people want democracy. But I think that the process of selecting the people, electing the people, does not really speak, the conscience of the people. You're having people who are coming on board and they are not representing the people. It's an error. You are there to lead or to represent us. It doesn't mean that you know it more than us. Look at issues. When it comes to elections, they find your home, whether it's as far as Belegete in Obudu is not a place you can enter easily. But during elections, they go to places that are even more challenging than that area. And after elections, you don't see them. They don't have any reason to begin to think for us without coming to meet us. So each of the senators and National Assembly members, how many of them have had, fora with their own community? You can't take decisions without consulting us. So these are the issues that we're looking at. You have people who beg you for the vote to serve you, and when they get there, they become lords over you. And so it's making us that the connection between the people and the masses, the elected people and the masses, it's not there. And once it's not there, you don't have it. The other thing which is worrying me, which we'll discuss off camera here, is that you have the legislator now beginning to play a role which we call a quasi-executive role. In 1979, the constituency projects were never executed by members of the National Assembly. They only fought and ensured that I want a borehole, I want a market, I want a hospital in my constituency. Put it in the budget, and when it's time to implement, that money was sent to the appropriate ministry. But in this case now, you find that you put the thing in the budget, you want the money to be sent to you, so you have a National Assembly member who is a senator, who is a commissioner for health, commissioner for works, commissioner for aviation, commissioner for everything he wants to do. So we are beginning to see them, and you think they want to confuse Nigerians. For us to begin, we are not demanding for legislative roles now. Okay. We are beginning to demand for executive roles from them. We need to begin to do that.
So based on this analysis you've given so far, do you still think Nigeria has a reason to celebrate?
Yeah, we have a reason. That a few individuals are not wanting things to go right doesn't mean we do not have a reason.
Okay.
So we need to
So
stand
what are
up.
the basic reasons? You can, you know.
If you look at in the last election, look at the population of millennial voters who came out. They were excited, and they want to see that their voices are heard and heard correctly. I think that we need to do a lot of work in an electoral system to ensure that when people vote, it is the people's voices, the people's choices that comes out.
Right.
So you saw the way people sat down. People came out and did their own civic responsibility. We shouldn't let that opportunity, get lost. So we need to get up and begin to look at it. And right now within the National Assembly, there are discussions of, amendments to the constitutions, new provisions and all that. National Assembly members shouldn't be sitting down and thinking for us. Come back to your people and have discussions and go back and speak so that we make these amendments and ensure that we have ability to be one of the greatest democracies.
All right, that's interesting. So you've heard from Dr. McFarland Eja, who said that the people have the right to lend a voice to every form of representation. We are still here in the studio celebrating June 12th, and I have this political analyst here on my panel. I want to go back to Chief Okoye Obanobla. You just launched a book, like we said initially. You are very passionate about Nigeria as a country. And I remember the role we played during the Tinubu Shetima independent campaigns and the presidential campaigns and all of that. 1 year after, would you say that your party, the All Progressive Congress, is doing well? Would you say that the change that the previous government promised, plus the renewed hope of this dispensation, is coming to the fore, and Nigerians really been impacted upon? What are your thoughts?
Well, I will not be categorical in saying, oh, the party has not done well, or the party has done well, because it's just the first year of 4 years. The constitutional mandate, the framers of the Constitution, defines a mandate as 4 years. So if you begin to evaluate, if you begin to assess somebody who is on a 4 years course by year one, I don't think we are being fair to that person. Okay. We begin to assess that person, evaluate that person, whether or not he has done well on the 4th year. And that is why we have elections. Elections are meant to serve that purpose, so that the electorate will evaluate the tenure of a government that has been elected for 4 years. What have you done in 4 years? What is your scorecard? But to begin to assess somebody from year one, I don't think is right. Okay. So let us be patient. In 4 years' time, we evaluate whether or not the APC has done well. But for now, it is premature.
All right, so I've heard consistently from Professor Michael Ocom, and other Nigerians also feel that Nigeria's problem, Nigeria's situation required a political solution. So in that regard, what can you say as a political analyst? Do we really need a political solution to the insecurity in the country? Do we need a political solution to the cost of living crisis we are facing currently in Nigeria? Yeah.
Political solution,
political will,
economic solution, also the support of the people of Nigeria. There's a disconnect. Okay. People do not even know what government is all about. Okay. People do not even know what the executive branch of government is all about, the legislature, the judiciary. Do not even know what is the role of the federal government. Why should I expect the federal government to go to Ukele or go to Mpani to do a rural road when we have the state government, when we have a local government? I have been giving this example. I grew up in Lokoja. My mother used to be a contractor in the Lokoja Local Government Council in the late 70s and early 70s to help my father send us to school. And she was a contractor. She would go to the local government every month. They would give her, okay, go and supply pepper, go and supply this, go and supply that. Today, you go to our local government councils. They are a shadow of themselves. The local government councils are not just there. What are they doing? The workers don't even have work to do. Whereas the local government is the closest government to the people. Why shouldn't our local government take care of environmental sanitation? Why can't they do roads? Why can't they do primary schools? Why can't they give us clean markets, give us street lights? Why would they wait for NDDC? Why would they wait for one senator who is in Abuja who has taken so much money to come and say, look, I'm donating solar lamps, and then we are excited? What is the function of the local government in all this?
Right.
I think the political solution is also a way forward, because the political solution would then mean that our political parties have to look at the process of recruitment of leaders. People who are genuinely committed, people who want to serve, who don't see government as a passport to accumulate wealth, should be allowed to contest election, should be allowed to win. And then if they win, I believe they will go a long way in changing the system. The system now is very, very bad, very, very dysfunctional. We don't have genuine leaders. Okay, if I'm a senator, I will not be taking home 29 million naira every month when my people are abjectly poor. Well, what am I doing with 29 million when we cannot pay civil servants maybe 500,000 naira a month, and a senator is taking home 29 million naira for sitting for 185 days? So it's a dysfunctional system. But it all boils down to the political parties not playing the role they are supposed to play in a functional democracy.
All right.
Yes.
All right, so you are Director, Academia for Good Governance. It's talked about people not even knowing their role, people not knowing what the federal and state government is supposed to be doing and all of that. So how do we hold government accountable? What has been your role as Director, Academia for Good Governance? What is our advocacy about?
Yes. Thank you so much. Now, you know what I did during the elections. Yes, I created the Directorate for Voter Education because I knew that no matter what you do, no matter the preachments that you do, it is what the voter does in the box that determines who wins the election. That's why there was need for voter education. And I went to every local government area in this state, address all the rallies, try to educate people. And I have been informed by the party, by the big wigs of the party, that look, Prof, we did so well, and we believe that what you did is what made us to have that slight edge over the other people. The party has told me this. So that means it works when you go and educate people.
So beyond the campaigns,
yes.
What are you doing beyond the campaigns?
Beyond the campaigns, we do advocacy. Okay. Part of that is why we are here. Okay. But you see, I can't do everything. But this man is so versatile because he has done a lot of things for this nation. Yeah. But I am concerned about what governance can do, the practical dimensions of governance. And so that you don't have what my favorite guy, Tadadamo, calls the infamy of development regression, because we're not making any progress.
So how do we hold government accountable?
You hold government.
What are the practical steps?
You hold government accountable by doing advocacy, because you cannot go and force anyone. But you see, and also it's critical that you're also talking to people who listen, because you can't be involved in the dialogue of the deaf. So but leaders have to listen. But what I'm saying is that, look, it's not rocket science to do the right thing. We don't need to, like the Bible says, that if you want salvation, you don't need to go to heaven to get it, because you can get. So we know what is going on, but what is lacking, what we're lacking, that's why I am stressing on the need for us to have the political will, because that is the will. You can have the resources in your hands, but if you don't have don't take the decision. Even a father in the house can have money in his hand, and the people will be hungry unless he makes up his mind to say, look, I'm going to bring out money to go and buy rice for my people. So that's the point. Is that cutting edge? Yeah. And then going by Ecclesiastes 5:9, that the profit of the field is for all. Even the king is served by the field. So that means the king, for me, that scripture is adumbrating the need for economic justice, social justice. So ensure that everybody has something. Everyone has a minimum. Bread on my table is an economic matter. So put bread on my. If I want to put the butter, sir, let the butter be the result of my own hard work, of my own connections, relationship with Barrister Obono. So, but let me have bread first. So that the situation where people are going to the rubbish heap. This morning somebody called me from Abuja. He said, Prof, what's going on? People are eating from the gutter. And it's a people are almost, it has said, well, it is almost, but here we see people who go to rummage for things in the rubbish heap. And leadership should be concerned about this type of thing.
All right, so let's go to Dr. McFarland. Dr. McFarland, I'm interested in your own standpoint because you are coming from the private sector. What do you think is the way forward? Prof has talked about the political will. He talked about the will. Now, are we going to wait in perpetuity for leaders to have this political will, or to come to the realization that their political will make the difference? What do you think is the way forward?
I think the earlier we understand that Nigeria's problem is multifaceted, the better for us.
That's right.
That's number one. Number two, we also understand we have a dysfunctional system with people who are supposed to be servants, but they're becoming lords, not only leaders.
Okay.
So we need to look at it. Let me talk about, the issue of assessment, like my friend Chief Obonobla talked about. I'm from the civil society subsector, so I like looking at development activities from what we call the process monitoring. We don't want to wait until the end of 4 years to begin to assess you. So process monitoring allows you to begin to do a periodic, assessment and analysis to identify problems quite early enough and solve them. And I think that until we introduce process monitoring into our democratic process, we will not be getting things right. Because if we wait for the mistake to be made till at the end of 4 years for us to discover, we've lost that. So that's what we need to introduce. Look at the system itself. We talked about local government. And the two local government period that, can leave lasting impressions in the minds of people is, in 1993, I think that system ended in 1993, where you had a quasi-military era local government, where IBB was a military president, and you had the local governments operating. Local governments at that point were really centers of development. Funds went directly to them. There was serious competition. I remember that's when my local government area, Abi local government, the mass transit won award as the best mass transit in Nigeria. It was a local government chairman who did that. And we moved on there. We had the state mass transit, which was cross-line at that time, but the local government mass transit came up. And then 1999, when we came between 1999 and 2003, local governments also had their allocations directly to them. That's when we had, in Cross River State, it was AMPP then, and you had that. We saw the local government competitions were going on, and activities were going in. By the time you have the local governments functioning effectively and efficiently, you will reduce rural-urban migration. A lot of people will begin to stay there, and things begin to go. Right now, I bet you, even if you go and say the supermarket in any of the local governments and give the person 10 million, the purchasing power is not there, and the people cannot buy it. The political party structure itself, the party is supposed to be owned by the people, but the party is owned by some big wigs. And because they own it, they are able to dictate who goes in there. So the process is faulty. For us, the way forward is to look at a way of reorganizing our political structure in a way that it returns power and authority to the people. Whether the political party itself, let the membership of the political party be the ones who own it. At the election itself, let the people, their voices be the ones which are there. We look at the process of governance. Why is it taking us time to give, autonomy completely to the judiciary, to the legislature, and to the executive? Why are we doing that? Sometimes I describe this as executive rascality because you're holding on. We claim to be equal, but when it comes to negotiation, you're putting hiccups and bottlenecks. Until that is done, things will move. And once we do it, we allow each region, each state to begin to look at its area of comparative advantage. Okay. And until we begin to become a production economy rather than a consumption economy, things will not work. Nigerians have all it takes. Intellectually, outside this country, Nigerians are doing excellently well. Look at the healthcare system. The nurses who are living here and the doctors who are living from the same Nigerian universities here. But when they get outside, they are sought after seriously. Meaning that there is still a base and foundation that you can build on the educational system. What justification do we have when the National Assembly budget is by far more than all the educational institutions you have together? A country that is not interested in building its educational system is putting a critical successor generation that is seriously disadvantaged from taking over from them. And so if we want to begin to go, you sit back here and you're saying you're producing. Innocent Motor is producing vehicles. Now check the number of vehicles that were born to members of National Assembly. The same Land Cruiser, you have an equivalent of it that is producing. Why are we not supporting? Imagine that you say all the local government chairmen, all the House of Assembly members in all the 36 states in Nigeria begin to get that as an official vehicle. You have worked on that economy. And because it's producing vehicles, there are other ancillary services, and people will begin to go. Look at about where you have the power supply that we talked about here. Things are beginning to move. And so we need to look at it. We are talking about labor is on strike now, saying that we should revert the energy. It's a very unintelligent way of beginning to say you want to balkanize the power subsector. It's a big shame that we are not able to, talk about meeting half of what we say. We have people who make promises and we cannot hold them accountable. So coming back to the instrument of accountability, one of the things we need to do is the recall clause process in that constitution makes it too cumbersome for the people to begin to come out and say, okay, we want to do this, we want to do that. Right. Let's give power to the people as it is.
So this segment is going to be very, very interesting. We want to hear the public opinion, the views of the people, very crucial. We've been having this thought-provoking interaction on June 12th, and if you're just joining us, I still have here live in the studio Chief Okoye Obanobla, who is a public analyst, and Professor Michael Okom, who is the Director, Academia for Good Governance, and Dr. McFarland Eja, who is a consultant analyst. So we are going to be calling out this number. The number to call us live here right now to make your own contribution is 08122338595. So you call us, let us have your thoughts, and of course the line is also live on the screen. We need to hear from the people of Cross River State, the people of Nigeria. What is your thought on the 25 years of unbroken democratic process in Nigeria? Are we doing well as a nation? What do you think about the Cross River experience? So we want to hear from you. So while waiting for the calls to come in, I want to go back to Dr. McFarland. Dr. McFarland, you've said that a process can be analyzed even within the shortest possible time. Yeah. So let's hear from you about the Cross River experience.
Yeah, for Cross River, for us, we had, it's not in isolation. From 1999, before then, Cross River State was seen as a civil service state. And so when that democratic process came in, the period of His Excellency Donald Duke, he moved on. And in addition to the civil service structure, gave us a tourism-related economy. It was a twin-pronged economy, tourism and agriculture. Tourism thrived very well. By the time we got on board and he handed over to His Excellency Senator Lee Elimuke, we had some significant strides in the area of tourism, where we had the Calabar Carnival moved on until it gained international status. Now you move in. Coming back to where, okay,
I'm going to come back to you.
All right.
Hello? What's your name and where are you calling from, please? Okay, please, you're going to request that you keep the conversation very brief. So what do you have to say? What's your contribution?
I heard all everybody talking about democracy. I want them to tell senators that they're making what to suffer in this country. How can a senator collect 11 million for 1 day? The woman cannot have 1,000 naira to eat. No cup of garri. Garri now, everything up. So, when I explain something like this about the president, for people to suffer in this country, people are suffer. And they say none of them they enjoy. There's nothing like democracy because they don't enjoy. I want them to ask. Ask the one to fall on do this thing. Because all of them they enjoy the program. After the election, vote for them. They vote for them. They answer.
All right, thank you very much. We've got to your contribution. Thank you very much. All right, so just say he said that you need to do a call to action, but for the senators, specifically senators.
Well, let me help them out.
So know that Nigerians are suffering. People are going through a lot. So what can you say about it?
Well, I even blame the people because. That is why, Prof, we had agreed that an informed citizenry is the best way forward to deepening democracy and having good governance. Right. If the people are informed, during election time, we look at senators who are pro, reduction of their salary and pegs. Some senators, and we support those senators, those categories of people or candidates who campaign on the platform that if I am elected to the National Assembly, I will not take more than 5 million naira a year as my allowances and salary. And then the senators who want to earn 50 million naira in a poor country like Nigeria, then those kind of candidates, we shouldn't vote for them. But what we see during elections is people are more interested in getting money from these candidates than scrutinizing their manifestos and programs, or before casting their votes for them. So the problem is with the people. We should take over the governance of our country. We shouldn't wait for the elites alone or the political leaders. We the people, because democracy is all about the people. The people have the power at the end of the day. Okay? No matter the ideas you have or what you think you are, if you do not have the support of the people, you cannot get elected. So we should scrutinize our leaders. We should, be watchdogs of our leaders to see that they do the right thing. Even now, we can say that, look, any senator who is taking 29 million naira, we are going to recall him. We are going to recall him. Then we start sending messages like that. The senators will sit up, or members of the House of Reps. So right. The power is with us.
Thank you very much. The power. No, before I come to you, the number to call once again is 08122 338 595 is live on the screen. Please call us. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your contribution on this special June 12th edition. All right, so let's...
Yeah, let me just start towards that. I agree with you that the power is with the people, but I want you to understand that the school that you and I attended, this system, de-enfranchising the people, taking away power from the people, is not a one-day thing. They systematically, took up the entire thing, weakened the system. They have weaponized hunger. So that the people are so hungry. You check during election, the year to elect, leading to election, you find that everything becomes so tight. Money in the system is not there. So it's a cabal, a system that has deliberately introduced hunger, poverty, and want, such that you begin to use the money to buy them. I agree that we need to do that, but also is an error that these people will sit down. Recall process, I said it here. You saw how they tried it with Dino. The same people who are there make it almost impossible for them to be recalled. And we need to do it. If we find a way, let's look at the constitutional reform and everything and ensure that the electoral process is returned back and we get things power to the people. So, but if we really need to find a situation where the people are accountable to the people. You don't need a magician to look at it. We were talking about the crossover situation. This is, you have every governor says first 100 days, first 6 months, first 1 year in office. These are things to look at. I don't expect a magic that you come in first 100 days. I begin to see giant infrastructural thing. But we need to see policy directions.
All right, I want to come to Prof. You heard his analysis how poverty has been weaponized in Nigeria, and then my question is, who is going to kickstart this revolution? Who is going to, take the initiative to kickstart this revolution on the callback system on our representatives at all levels? Who will take the initiative to do that?
You know that this is, we're talking about the democracy, and the fulcrum of the democracy is the law. Then we're talking about the lawmakers, the people who are making the law. The lawmakers will first of all take care of themselves. We can't change the law. It's the same people are complaining.
Having said that, how do we kickstart the revolution of the callback system?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
It's difficult. I'm trying to point out to you that it is a difficult thing to do because you need to have a change of legislation. And then it is the same legislators you're complaining about
who are supposed to make the change.
Who are supposed to make the law. So it's really difficult. But for me,
right.
Yes, I think that it is power, how we use power. That is what we need to really look at. And then, of course, there's a constitutional dimension to it, but also how you're using power. I have studied leadership.
Okay.
And what I know is that everything rises and falls with leadership. Remember this American president who wrote on his desk, says the buck stops here. So it's about leadership. It's about how we use power. So first of all, we have to devise a system where power becomes an instrument for us to reach the people, to impact the lives of the people. Let me tell you something, please. This thing is not a difficult thing to do. The leader is the one that takes the decision. And when I have to be personal at this time, when I was dean of law, I realized that results, students hadn't seen the results before the next exam for the past 20 years. I just said to myself, look, I will make sure that students see the results before the next exam. There's a particular lecturer who was stubborn about bringing results. I pursued him to his house 5 times and eventually got the result. So this thing is about leadership. It's about leadership. It's about leadership. And then you need to get yourself in a situation where you understand that, look, as a leader, you have to provide the solution. And there is the element of insensitivity. Okay, recently we heard somebody was talking about the vice president announcing, that, they are launching the building of the vice president's house.
The amount of money that is a collective assault on sensibilities.
A lot of people felt that was not necessary. A lot of people felt that was insensitive in a situation where you are buying a cup of gari for 200 naira. So what has spending 29 billion on a vice president's house to do with how somebody is buying gari? So let's begin to look at these critical issues. So for me, I'm sorry, but as the one running the Academy for Good Governance, I'm interested in good governance, and I have discovered that good governance is very, very possible. Once you make up, the leader makes up his mind. We're talking about subsidy. Have you studied the subsidy regime? Have you not seen the analysis? I'm sure you have seen it. You must have seen it too, sir. We must first of all, as a people, decide how we want to use power. Look at the subsidy regime, for example. Has it not been proven that the subsidy wasn't being paid going to the sector? Has it not been proven? So if it wasn't being paid to the sector, that brought us a list of all the people that they claim to have received subsidy. And remember what Baguda said. Baguda said his own friends came to him to say that, look, we don't want this subsidy again. We have made too much money. And nobody is talking about it. So if the subsidy money wasn't going to the sector and NNPC was still making 100 naira profit when they were not receiving, when subsidy wasn't being paid into the sector. So if you now stop the subsidy, in other words, you are stopping money from being stolen. So what should happen? Rather, the price of price should rather go down.
That's
it is the power with the power. That is it.
While my mentor and boss, Chief Okoye was walking into the studio this morning, said this CRBC studio is the biggest studio in Nigeria.
Let's clap for CRBC.
I like to hear you say that again. Yeah. I know you've been everywhere. You've been a public speaker at all forums, and then you've been to different, TV stations and studios across Nigeria.
In the world.
So you can categorically say this is the biggest studio you've seen.
Yes. Surprisingly, this is the biggest studio.
Yeah.
From my personal experience, I have been to Channel several times, in Abuja, even in Lagos. Arise, several times I've made appearances there. Yes.
TVC.
Yeah.
TVC.
So even Nigerian Television Authority, I have seen that this is the biggest, a more comfortable studio in Nigeria.
I like that.
It's called for celebration.
All right, so we're back on the jiffy where we have to cut the cake and do a toast to Nigeria and Nigeria. Stay with us. I've learned a lot today. It's been very explosive. Having this bright minds, world-class leaders give us their thoughts about the June 12th celebration and what they think about the Nigerian situation, of course, in 2024. At this point, I want to request that we stand up and respectfully, and I want to call on my mentor, a political analyst, public analyst, is a political consultant, Chief Okoye You're going to do a toast before we cut the cake in celebration of Nigeria and Nigeria after 25 years of unbroken democracy. So go ahead. You have to wrap this.
Yes, I think it's a landmark celebration.
Take out your glasses.
Particularly for those of us who were born in the year, I was born in the year the military made an incursion into governance in Nigeria. And so we didn't enjoy democracy. So it is a landmark for us that we have lived to enjoy democracy. I think democracy is the best form of government. There's no doubt about that. I believe in the next 25 years, Nigerian democracy will mature. We will see a lot of prosperity.
Amen.
We will see a lot of mature institutions. Because we have institutions that are supposed to support democracy, including our senators and members of the House of Reps, our state assemblies. These are all institutions of democracy. The judiciary, and then the executive branch of government that is supposed to perform, that is supposed to give us prosperity. I think we have done very well. Everything may not be right, but we are on the step to writing everything.
All right.
So I toast to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to the Cross River State of Nigeria, one of the oldest states in Nigeria, and to the Cross River State Broadcasting Corporation,
The biggest.
with the biggest
Studio.
television studio in the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Woo! I hope you heard that. All right, so let's. Okay, so this is yours.
Okay, let me give Prof first.
Okay. CRBC with the biggest studio. I like that. So please lead us,
Dr.
everyone,
Mafala.
support CRBC because we are doing well in all ramifications. I want to do better.
Amen.
All right, so let's have Prof say a few words. I don't know whether it's prayer. They are also a bishop.
We toast,
Yeah.
to the actualization of our collective expectations.
Amen.
And we the morning shows the day. In Cross River State, at least we've seen that there's direction. We've seen roads, we've seen things happening, we've seen the aviation, something happening, we've seen in agriculture, we've seen rice is about to be, very soon it will be very abundant in Cross River State. So we just pray that everything that we've seen on the template now should materialize and escalate to the glory of God and also to the benefit of all the Nigerians and to the eradication of poverty.
All right.
In the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen. I say a big amen to that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so take a sip. So I would like Dr. Mafala to say a few words. So let's start with you, Chief. Can you stretch your hands? Let's cut this cake. Please coordinate for us, Dr. Mafala. What are we spelling? Jesus Christ or Nigeria?
And of course, we're going to spell Jesus Christ because with him everything is done. And once we complete it, beginning from the first letter, give me the first letter J. E. S. U. And S.
Yes. Jesus.
That's it.
All right, so this has been very, 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 very interesting, thought-provoking. Topical issues have been raised today on how we can make Nigeria a better place, make Cross River a better place. I want to thank you very much for making our time to join us in the studios. Of course, Cross River is the only state we have, Nigeria is the only country we have, and it is our responsibility to come together collectively to change the narrative in Nigeria and of course in Cross River State. So we're calling upon you for more analysis to keep our people abreast with happenings, because you said that an informed society will actually have the need to change the narrative. So thank you very much for being with us. Thank you very much for staying with us till this very moment. We say thank you, congratulations to all of you out there, the political class. Please celebrate June 12th with moderation, and those who are in the private sector also enjoy your public holiday. From us here in the CRBC studio, we say we love you very much. Thank you for staying tuned till this very moment. This is how far we can go. Tomorrow we'll be back with another loaded edition of the Good Morning Cross River Show. We do the best we can to keep you motivated, to keep you informed. Please continue to support CRBC and support the Senator Prince Bassett Tuled administration for us to build the Cross River State of our collective dream. So we thank you very much for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye to everybody.